All right, this will be first.
Is it 5?
Oh, we're live! Yay!
Hey.
It is 5.
It's 5.
It is 5. We are super excited. We've been chatting away here. So then we thought we better hop on here since everybody else is expecting us to. So I'm going to do one thing real quick. I'm going to move us closer.
Ooh.
Okay, maybe.
The extreme up.
I know. Let me fix my hair real quick.
Okay.
Well, hi, guys.
Hi.
Emily Stark here, just in case you don't know who I am. I am the director for the Mrs. Colorado and Wyoming pageant, and I have my Colorado queen with me today. Yay! Miss Lauren Campbell.
Hi, I'm Lauren Campbell. I'm a third-generation Colorado native, and I'm your current queen, Mrs. Colorado America.
Yay! Okay, so we're going to do a few housekeeping things. As you watch this, if you can just type in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to know what state and what city you're watching us from. And then the other one is if Lauren says something today that you just go, oh, that is me. That's my 2 hands up emoji, which means that resonates with me. The last time we did this, all the queens were like, what? Do we put our hands up? So it's
like we can't see you. We can't see you.
Right. And so what we want to know is that what we're sharing and what we're giving you information on is making sense and that it's you. And that's, I think, one key thing is knowing that the people that participate in pageants are real people. They have real life. When you participate in the pageant or when you become the queen, life, you don't live in a castle with a dragon and a moat and become this fairy tale princess with nothing.
Unless you're already that, then that's pretty cool.
Yes, we want to see the dragon. Come on, you Khaleesi fans. Oh, Game of Thrones. So what we're going to talk about a handful of different things, and we're also going to get to how Lauren competed in the state pageant, and we'll find out if she did it for the national pageant too. Through sponsorship, 100% through sponsorship. So we'll talk about that. But let's just talk about some of the basic things like what motivated you the first time to compete?
Okay, question. Do I look in the green button? Where can I see my camera? Is that the green button?
It is the green button. Those details. See, and this is what I love. This is what I love.
Live TV. No, I'm kidding. What motivated me? Well, growing up, I always was interested in pageants. I would watch them and think that was so cool. I remember in college watching a Miss USA competition, and I had always wanted to compete. I just never thought I could do it. I never thought I was good enough, to be honest. And I remember watching that year, and Susie Castillo won Miss USA. Yeah. And it just so happened that one of my sorority sisters, that was her cousin.
Oh.
So I felt this weird connection, if you will. And I was like, if she could do it, wow. And so they knew I was very interested, and they encouraged me. You've got to do it, Lauren. And so on a whim, I kind of threw myself into that system.
Oh, wow.
Literally 5 weeks before. Didn't know what I was doing, but thought, why not? Why not?
I love those kinds of spirits.
And I went in, knowing nothing, so unprepared. Somehow I stumbled on that stage and was second runner-up. It was crazy.
For not knowing anything.
I knew nothing.
Okay.
I knew nothing.
That's impressive.
Fumbled through horribly. When they called my name, I was like, I think that's a joke. And they called me again because they were like, get out here, because I didn't believe them.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
And so I thought that was it for me. I thought that was it for my journey. I was really proud of myself that I had done that. And my family was very supportive. Everyone was like, that's a great thing you did. So then, something kept kind of biting at me. And then I also had some people reach out to me, some coaches and people who became very great friends of mine, Nini Momo in New York, that said, hey, we think they happened to be judges that year. And they said, we want to tell you your interview was horrendous, the worst interview ever. And I said, yeah, I agree with you. It was really bad.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
You were a negative. No. And they said,
but you shut up.
Right, yeah. And I didn't, I think I was 20 years old. I didn't necessarily know who I was. Yeah. And they said that we want to work with you. We believe that you could do well. We want to work with you. Would you work with us? They worked with me out of the kindness of their heart. I flew to New York and they worked with me because they believed in me. And I really had never believed in myself at that level. And so that was a moment where I could really say my life kind of turned around, because I just never felt like, I don't know, if I didn't feel worthy or I didn't feel like I could be that woman. And they saw something in me, and so much so that it made me recognize it in myself. And I'll always be grateful to those people for seeing that in me.
So I'm going to stop right there, only because this is huge. We all make assumptions. Because Lauren is absolutely stunning. Like when you look at Lauren, you go, oh, okay, this girl wakes up absolutely beautiful. But we all struggle with what Lauren struggled with. And that is that kind of, am I enough? Am I good enough? And can I do this? And what is the beautiful piece is people reached out to make a difference in Lauren's life. And as we head into the month of November, which I kind of think is like the Thanksgiving month. And for the contestants that are signed up in Colorado and Wyoming, you're going to get this in the newsletter, is I'm going to challenge you in the month of November to really tell the people that are close to you, that have supported you, thank you. It's the month to say thank you to your tribe. And so that is one of the biggest gifts that somebody gave to Lauren, and I know she's been able to give it to other people. So that's really cool.
Absolutely. So that was back in the day. That was I went back the next year and I won. Yay! So I was Miss Colorado USA, which is pretty cool. So you have 2 Miss Colorado USAs sitting here.
And we did the same thing. I went back my first year and
got it the second year.
And went back the second year and went, I can do this.
Very cool. Yeah. So got to go to Miss USA and do all that amazing stuff. And at that time in my life, we were out at Miss USA for 17 days, which is crazy. 17 days where you're leaving your job, everything behind. But at 22, leave that job behind. And
I was like, peace out, people.
Yeah, so I went, but I was so consumed with the win and with doing everything I was told and being perfect and wearing the perfect outfit and presenting myself in a perfect way and answering the perfect question. At the same time, I didn't really know who I was yet. Not even necessarily because I was young. I know that added to me not knowing who I was, but also lack of life experience. And I went into that so with blinders on to any relationships that I could have made. And there was, 50 other amazing women that I could have made these great friendships with. And that is probably one of my hugest regrets, that I didn't make those connections. Though I had friends out there and we were cool, I didn't go deep. I was so focused and so overwhelmed. I wasn't able to be my best self and live in the moment. We did amazing things, amazing experiences I'll never get to do again. And I've just lived with that regret ever since, 14 years ago when I got that amazing opportunity. So it has always been in the back of my mind, what if I could do that over? I really missed out, I think, on the opportunity to meet the friends and live that experience of being at a national pageant and representing Colorado on a national stage. So that's kind of what brought me back in the longest possible story ever.
We like stories. Makes it real.
Yeah.
But we did tangent a few times. Okay, so compete from the first year you competed to this last year, so April's pageant. What do you think you have learned along the way?
It's very different. I think every pageant system is going to be very different. What I learned that was different, the Mrs. Pageant system is different because we do have all that in common. We are married. Often we're in a different stage of life. Yeah. So many of us have families, have careers that we have pursued, and we're in there. We're in our groove. We're coming more into the woman who we always wanted to be. And for me, I was finally realizing my gifts. I went back and got my master's because I realized that I loved working in the community, working with kids. And I just kind of knew more who I was. So I thought, if I go back this time, this Mrs. Pageant is going to allow me to really showcase at this time in my life who I am. And knowing your gifts and being able to share those through the organization is huge. So long story again, but I this is my 4th year. So I won on my 4th year. And yes, I went into it year 1 thinking I was Miss Colorado USA. I know how to do this. Like, I'm going to do great. I'm going to do great. I got this. And that was not the case. Again, this system is different. They very much focus on really who you are and what you have to offer, the work you've done in the community. I just think really knowing yourself is a huge part of it. And so the first year I went in, thought I could just wing it. That didn't work out for me very well. And then I did get the bug, and I went back. Next year, did better. One interview, made the most amazing friends ever. And that experience, just living in that moment, those 4 days, I gained amazing friendships. And we always do these great little seminars also as part of the pageant week. And I always get a lot from that, because it's very empowering, but it also just allows you to see yourself in a different way. And those 4 days kind of let you take time for yourself, because a lot of us as grown-up women, we don't always take time for ourselves, or hardly ever. And so it really allowed me to reflect. And then I became addicted and met all these women, and I couldn't get enough. So now that I can't compete again, I'll be sad, but I will be so glad to watch everyone else on their journey and be on the other side.
Exactly. So if you were to, what would you tell someone that works full-time, has kids in sports? How would they balance participating in the pageant and life and all the responsibilities of life?
It's tough, but you can do it. You can do it. Well, I myself, a lot of our queens actually have been working moms, possibly even the breadwinner of their family. And I work in corporate America full-time, 40 hours a week. I have 2 wild little boys who are 5 and 7, and they have football and martial arts and piano and all these activities and play dates. And then, of course, I have a wonderful husband that requires some of my time as well. Yes.
Details.
And so I would say that I'm busy. I also love to do kickboxing and hang out with my friends and see my family, and that's busy. So a lot of people say, Lauren, why the heck would you choose to add another thing into your crazy life? But like I said, in a Facebook post, I think a week or so ago, everything in my life, I'm very blessed, because all those things, I have chosen them to be there. And the Mrs. Colorado America organization is absolutely something I would never not make the time for. And it's been so impactful in my life. I wanted to make it a priority. And I think anything that is that special to you and has made such an impact on you, why would you give it up? Why would you not prioritize? Yeah. And I've done it, and it has not caused me any added stress. You can really balance and choose what you want to do, how involved you want to be, what impact you want to make, and that's completely up to you.
And I guess that's the beautiful piece about the title, is I do get asked a handful, what are the requirements of the queen? And that is the cool part about the queen, is she almost becomes a chameleon to her own life. That when Courtney Graham won many years ago, she worked 40 hours a week. She had 2 boys in traveling sports. And so she just balanced it according to her life. I will never, as a director, say to you, here's your 400 appearances. It's been fun. We don't. We work together. Like I will tell Lauren, hey, this is coming up. Would you like to be part of it? And we work together to make it where your year is what you want it to be. And if there's a focus or an organization, we've had queens, that have what I call my potluck queens, like Janelle, who we just sent her all over the place. And then we had queens like Courtney that wanted to focus in on breast cancer awareness. And so she was at every Susan G. Komen event and spoke at every one of them. So we get to kind of tailor it to the queen, which is kind of fun.
Right. And so this year, initially the first 6 months, I was able to work with the Jeffco Public Schools Foundation and really focus on literacy and student programs for students who are without, which is a huge importance in my life. And I was able to help raise $165,000 this year for that organization, which is amazing.
That's huge.
It's crazy. And so a lot of those programs will get funding because of that, which is so amazing that I could help with that. Other than that, I got to work with the Global Down Syndrome Foundation, the Latinas First Foundation. I've supported them. Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Yes.
Who might be the first?
That's one thing. Yes. No. Let's. Speaking of Latinas.
Yes.
I am.
Let's celebrate that.
There's a lot of diversity in Colorado, which I think should be so celebrated. Yes. And one of the proudest things about, aside from winning the title of Mrs. Colorado, America is I'm the first Latina woman ever to hold the title. I know I won't be the last, but I am the first. And so that's very exciting. We definitely want to embrace all cultures, all diversity, because Colorado is so rich in that. So, you know, if you feel like you're not being represented, you better get out here and get on that stage and represent. So
yes,
yeah.
because what is, whose quote is that? Be the change that you want to see in the world.
I can't tell you whose quote that is, but it is a great
Gandhi
quote.
or Mother Teresa?
Be the change you want to see in the world. One of them. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm not going to say the wrong one.
Right. Yeah. So
I'm not gonna say the wrong
a wise person once
A wise
said,
person.
but that you do have to be the change if you want to see something different. And that's the cool piece, is being able to say, I am the first, and for many coming behind me, which is the blessing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yes, you get to work with lots of different organizations. Emily will tell me, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And then we'll say, let's go for it. Let's go support it. And also, I get to work with a lot of the other women who are competing and who are local title holders and help support their causes as well. And we all are kind of like this herd, this community that supports each other's organizations and what their philanthropies are.
Exactly. And it makes it fun because you get to see what people are very passionate about, which is really cool.
Well, shall we get to talking about the money stuff?
Yeah, let's talk about money, since money tends to be the one thing that people go, how does this get funded? And so I can tell you, in the Mrs. America system, we do things where you have an entry fee. And the entry fee in Colorado and Wyoming includes your swimsuit, sarong, opening number dress, and your rehearsal T-shirt that you wear on Friday. It's a kind of a one-stop package deal, along with husband tickets to both pageants and a handful of other things. But those are just kind of the basics that we touch upon. And then there's extras. There's things that you could create a budget that is humongous. You could create a budget that is zero. You get that choice in that journey on how you want to do it. I know when I competed, my little ones were not even a year old when I signed up, so I knew I needed sponsorship, and that's how I did it. And so I'm going to have Lauren share kind of how she went about getting sponsors, because that's a question people ask all the time, is how do you do that?
Right.
And there's lots of ways to do it. So she's going to share hers. And then I do have a few other things that contestants have given me that I thought I would share too. Yeah. Because who knows what's going to resonate with you.
Right. Well, I think, pageantry can be very expensive. Absolutely can be very expensive. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, if you want to do it right, you have to spend a lot of money. And I truly don't believe that in any way, shape, or form. Again, I competed 4 years, and I could tell you that throughout those years, I have spent $200 on a gown that I actually won Best in Evening Gown in. Cheapest gown. I won Best in Evening Gown. That was the only year I won Best in Evening Gown. $200, and I got it from a thing called like justdresses.com, which has a lot of dresses, so you should look there. But I just don't believe that you have to spend a lot of money. I feel like you have to spend a lot of time taking care of yourself, figuring out who you are. I think those are the most important things, and just believing in yourself. Other than that, some great ways to get sponsors are, we all have places that we get our hair done at, places we get maybe a facial, a massage, stores that we frequent. So with those, basically what I did, I think the most important thing is to be in person.
Yeah.
Be in person, maybe have some information that you can leave, but go face to face and ask those people that you already have established relationships with. I think it's harder to go in cold and say, hey, I'm Mrs. So-and-so, and I would love you to be my sponsor for this, because
I totally did.
Oh my God. Well, maybe it worked for you, cute little.
I got Walmart to sponsor me.
Oh my gosh.
I totally did. Hi, I'm Mrs. Parker. Here's what I'm up to.
Well, they're like, why not?
They did.
Walmart. Now I'm mad.
Totally did.
You could get butt glue there. You could get everything you need. But I went with people who I had relationships with. So my dentist, my hairstylist, my favorite stores. And basically, I think if you go out there and you're presenting, once I signed up, especially my last year, I was so excited about what could come and what could happen. And everywhere I went, I would talk about it. And not to the point of annoying people, but they're like, "What's up with you, Lauren?" And I would say, "Hey, I'm so excited. I'm getting ready for the Mrs. Colorado America pageant. And, this is what I've done. This is what I'm doing for the community." And they would get excited with me.
Yeah.
So because of that, it was very easy for me to say, "Hey, would you guys be interested in supporting me? We have this great program booklet. Here's how much the ads are. And if you want to sponsor me all around, it's this much money." Through that, you'll get to be in front of the eyes of all these women in Colorado, but also I can promote you on social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatnot. And most people, I don't think I got any no's. Everyone was excited to help on one way or another. And that way I got my hair got done for free, which was amazing. My color and cuts and facials. I got dental stuff. I got.
How'd you do your clothing?
Okay, well, one thing I do have to say, my evening gown, I was lucky, very lucky on the evening gown. It was sponsored, and it was sponsored through my pageant judges or coaches that I had talked about from 15 years ago. They believed in me so much and knew I was so passionate about this that they offered to sponsor my gown. So that was free of charge. And this year, Debbie Carroll designed my gown, and she was so kind, and she worked with me, and I know she gave me like a great deal on top of all of that. So very lucky on the gown. It was free. And then interview. Yep. My interview outfit, which I loved, and I wore it to Mrs. America too. It was so comfortable. I loved it. I wore that the last 3 years. So it was something that I bought for work. I could definitely wear it for work, and it looked great, and I felt great and powerful in it. And I happened to wear that the last 3 years in interview. And 2 of those 3 years, I won interview. So I figured if it's not broke, don't fix it. And the judges liked it. And I felt very strong and powerful in that. So I don't think that you have to even go buy something. Maybe if you have something that you already like, get it tailored. Add a little something. Put a little zhuzh on it. That's what I do with most of my stuff. Yep. And so I think there are a lot of ways that you can save money.
Exactly. And I know I won in a dress that I borrowed.
Okay.
So I paid $0 for my dress. I borrowed a dress. I worked my tail off to get in the dress that fit somebody else because I couldn't alter it.
That would be tough. Oh my gosh.
But you've got to kind of pull out your resources and figure out how to do it. And I know for some girls, they decide to sell the ad pages in the back of the program book, and then they'll list their sponsors logos on those. Right. And they can sell them for more than they have to pay for the printing fee.
Oh, absolutely.
And the difference is what they use for their pageant budget. I know Janelle Ames would always organize a silent auction, and then she would invite all of her family and friends, and they would all bid on it, knowing this was helping her journey to get to the pageant. And then she knew what her budget was for all her items based on the silent auction.
Right. And if there's a restaurant that you love that your family always goes to, it's great to go and ask them and say, "Hey, I want to have this night. Maybe Mondays aren't very busy for you, and have it as my
Mrs. Denver night.
Mrs. Denver night. Come and support, and maybe 10% of the proceeds go to your journey." And a lot of people are very willing to do that. Yep. So if you promote them, they'll be happy to support you. Another thing that I did, which so obviously I competed for several years, I sold my gown every year. And that was hard to do. And now, like the one I sold last year, I kind of want that back. But you can't do that. But I miss that gown. But I sold my gown. So from the first year, the 200 one, I actually sold that for 400. It was amazing. There's a lot of pageant resale sites and a lot of ways that you can sell clothing.
Just moving it on.
Yeah, to someone else that might want to use it and might want to win in that gown. So I sold, a couple cocktail dresses, a gown, and that just gave me a nice little pillow that I could put in for my budget. And again, I have a family, 2 little guys in private school, so we do not have the budget to really spend anything extra on mom, and that's just the way I would want it. So I was so happy to go out and work in my community and find those connections. So I didn't have to take really anything out of my family budget this year.
I think the other cool thing is if you take your local title and get out in your community and talk about what you're doing, that's another way to find businesses.
Right.
So if you have used the businesses that you already go to, but you need a few more, do a few appearances to meet other business owners.
Absolutely.
Offer to go to an event if they are at the farmer's market, offer to go hang out at their booth for an hour in exchange for their sponsorship. Get creative with ways to do it. I know Mrs. Parker last year, she made business cards, and on the back of the business card, she listed every sponsor that helped her. And so whenever she gave out business cards at appearances, all of her sponsors were being passed on to people that would not have seen their business.
Yep, absolutely.
And she had the whole town of Parker started calling her to sponsor. So once you kind of you start spreading it,
Right.
and it becomes kind of that wildfire, everyone wants to support you. You just have to tell them what you're doing.
Exactly. Right. And my largest sponsor, Steve, he's a wonderful gentleman who has a business in Denver. And he actually, I met him in my job working for the schools. My job was fundraising and to help the students. And he was so interested and thrilled with what I was doing for the students and all that fundraising. He said, well, as Mrs. Mile High City, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to continue to work with these children and continue to fundraise on their behalf for literacy and do a lot of other things in Denver as well. I just really want to support the community. And he was so impressed by the work that I was doing. He said, do you need a sponsor? And I said,
yes, please.
Are you sure? And so he was amazing. And I think he's kind of what put me over the hump. And I just really feel like God just put him in my path and it was meant to be. And, he's been a great friend and supportive through my whole journey, even to Mrs. America. So, sometimes when I think you're like, it's everything's against me. How am I going to afford it? It just, if you want it to happen, I believe you will find a way, and it will, and you won't regret it. You won't regret your experience that you're going to have as long as you're really open and take it in.
Exactly. And I think when there's a will, there's a way.
Right.
That you don't take the no and you don't say, well, no one's knocked on my front door to give me money. You need to be in action.
Right. I didn't win the Mega Millions.
I know, neither did I, but I might have not purchased a ticket either. So I think that's a key thing. What anything else with sponsorship that we haven't? Sure.
I mean, there's always more. Always reach out if you guys have questions, because I'm sure there's something I might forget, or if you have an idea, reach out. But yeah, definitely be in person. Share your journey with everyone, because everyone's going to be interested and want to support you. And maybe if they can't support you, they might know someone who can or can help you with. Yeah. I have a friend who owns a boutique who has maybe an interview offer. You never know. So just share it with everyone. There's no reason not to. And, the answers will kind of get to you.
Exactly. And I think another avenue that just triggered is the direct sales gals and gentlemen, I guess, like a Mary Kay rep or a
vacuum cleaner salesperson.
Yes. And so what you do is you align with them to do a party for them. And you ahead of time establish that all the profits would go to your pageant journey.
Oh, that's great.
And then what they are getting is new customers to try their product. Yeah. But you are getting the profits. So that's another way to do it.
Right. That's a great idea.
And I know with Arbonne, we have had a sponsor with Arbonne for years. And if you sold 100 bath salts, and she will front them for you so that you can essentially sell 100 bath salts. And when you think of 100, that's a lot. But if you ask 10 of your girlfriends,
right,
will you each sell 10 and have them in their hands and their possession, and they go to work and say, hey, my girlfriend's running for Mrs. Colorado. Would you buy a bath salt to support her? The transaction can happen, and that's $1,000 into your pageant budget right there.
Wow.
So you can get super creative. You just have to kind of go, okay, what's the one way I'm going to do this, and go full steam ahead. Don't try and do 20 ways.
Right. Then you get overwhelmed.
That's too many ways. But choose one and then commit to it, and commit to a time frame.
Right.
The sooner the better, so you know what your budget is, and stick to that budget. And your director can be super helpful if you say, okay, I need to stick to X, Y, and Z kind of budget. We all have resources and tricks and trade. And if you ask Lauren and say, hey, where did you get that? Or how do you get that? Or can I borrow, beg, or steal? ask your family and friends. Facebook
yeah.
is one of the easiest ways to get things done, because if you say, I need a jumpsuit and I want it to be turquoise with purple polka dots,
Right.
all your girlfriends
Someone might have it.
she
Someone might have
might.
it.
And then there it is right there. So I think you have to ask
Right.
and say. So.
Well, and you could stick to almost a nothing budget if you borrow. I borrowed a lot of my pageant wardrobe from my sisters. I have two younger, very hip, beautiful sisters, and thank God they let me raid their closets. So a lot of my wardrobe was from them, or from girlfriends, or ask people. Everyone wants to let you borrow, and why not get to borrow some really cool stuff?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so we have that. All right. So that's kind of sponsorship stuff.
Yeah. Well, one thing I did want to say is just, for anyone who, I wrote notes because I was at work today. I wanted to write notes.
I wrote questions.
Yeah. But just
notes.
a big thing, I think, as in pageantry and in everything, my biggest takeaway from the whole journey has truly been, I know people say it, whatever, I didn't believe it, is friendships. And I think I don't think I know, as a woman, I'm 37, and getting into my 30s, I felt very alone at times. I felt like, I'm this new mom and life is crazy. I don't even have time to make friends. I don't even have time to make friends unless this perfect friend is sitting next to me in baby music class or whatever, then she's not going to be out there for me. And luckily, through my journey, I have met the most amazing women, and you all know who you are. And some of you are out there that I'm going to meet, and you're going to become my friend too, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
But I really have just been at a place where I've allowed myself, I think, to be open to these relationships. And I think there's always friendships out there, but if you're not open and able to be reciprocal to that, 100%. You're never going to find it. So I was at that spot. I was ready. And I've made my crew that I will raise my children with. I will, and I have called. I've been in the hospital twice this year as well. But, friends who are going to be by my side in that hospital bed and bring me chapstick and lemon cake. And that's just how it goes. And I'm so grateful for that. And that has all been because of pageantry. I actually met 3 amazing, new best friends at Mrs. America. And I'm going on my first girls trip ever. My first girls trip ever in November, out to Washington, D.C. to see those gals. And I absolutely can't wait. They're just a blessing in my life. And it's funny because when I first got out to Mrs. America, when I sized everyone up in the pictures, I said, not going to like her. Who the heck does this chick think she is? And they ended up being my girls after all. So
she thinks she's my best friend,
right? So it just works out. And I think the friendships are truly the best thing that I've gained out of it all. But everyone's journey is different. But don't ever discount the friendships, because that's all we need.
It is. And we're meant to connect, and we're meant to live life connected. And I think when you realize that, I think that's when you're open to them.
Yep.
And along the way, you meet some incredible people.
Yeah. And brilliant. And the women, people who write books, people who are lawyers, doctors, stay-at-home moms, which is one of the hardest jobs in the world, I will tell you, because I did do it for 5 years and it was hard. But women from every walk of life, and women that I probably would have never met before. And I'm blown away by every new woman that I meet that comes into this organization, because they all have these, they're all something. They have some amazing gift, each and every one of them, to share. So, whoever the next queen will be, I'm so excited to see what her gifts are and how that's going to unfold.
That'll be fun. All right. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to connect with us. We have the Facebook page, or you can email us, of course. Mm-hmm. And we'll go from there. And all right. So we'll call it an evening.
Yeah.
Have a great night, guys. Thanks for watching.
Good night. Bye. We'll see you guys.